Welcome to part 3, where the actual action happens. And if you're still here, that means you're serious about getting this started up and getting a Hello World running. So what we did was download RabbitMQ server, RabbitMQ client, and all this is on a Mac. And if you're on a Windows or something else, you'll find it at rabbitmq.com/download. And after getting those, here's the deal. ActiveMQ basically wants you to connect with SSL security, and it's built on Erlang, so your machine needs an installation of Erlang with the SSL argument. It sounds tricky, but all you have to do is type in sudo port install Erlang plus SSL. This is something you can find somewhere and just copy paste it. If you did it the first time, it's pretty long, maybe even 10 minutes. Since I already have it, it went through in a few seconds. So after we got that, let's browse into the RabbitMQ server. Inside the server, there is a bunch of folders. ebin, etc include a bunch of licensing stuff, plugins, which is important later when you want a UI manager. But the most important part is the sbin folder. That's where the server stuff is. So cd into sbin. And the way you start up the server is using RabbitMQ server, but the way you shut things down in most commands is using RabbitMQ CTL. So /RabbitMQ server, enter, and at the end you can type hyphen detached, so you get control of this window back. But we have 3 tabs open in this terminal, so we'll just let that server have this tab. Alright, in the second tab, we're going to be compiling our source code. So remember before we had the send.java. And we have the receive.java. Alright. So save these 2 things onto your desktop. So I'm just hitting Control Save here. And it gets put on the desktop. Alrighty then. So we have send.java on the desktop, receive.java. But those things can't be compiled just yet. You have to go into the RabbitMQ client. There's 3 jars here. Commons CLI, Commons IO. You see them with a lot of standalone programs. And the third thing you need, the most important, is RabbitMQ client. So go ahead, Control C, copy or drag or whatever you want to do onto the desktop. Paste 3 items. So now we have all 3 of that. We can start compiling the source code. And the way we compile in Java is Java C. But if you visit the website, go to tutorials, the first lesson where most of our code comes from, and scroll down, it'll tell you how to compile. And it's going to say to use the RabbitMQ client in the Java C compiling phase. So we're going to type it exactly as it says. so that you know where to find this line later when you do it on your own. Java C hyphen CP for a class path, and then RabbitMQ client.jar, and then we're gonna compile the send.java and the receive.java. But it's not gonna work yet. We're gonna hit enter, but it's in the wrong directory. So let's cd into desktop where everything's living, and then do that Java C command again. And what we see happen is the send.java and the receive.java will be compiled into class files. And here they are. Send.class, receive.class. Now they're in bytecode form, in the perfect form for us to execute it. And the way we execute is not by Java C, but just Java alone. Same thing again. The hyphen CP for a class path. And if you go back to the website, it tells you the jars you need. So you're going to need the Commons IO, Commons CLI, and RabbitMQ client jars. So last time we typed out the previous line, Java C CP. This time we're going to do the smart thing and just copy it so we get a good habit. Just copy it in. Actually, the first thing we're going to run is receive. Go ahead and hit enter. And you see that the consumer has just started up. And if you remember the consumer, it's the receive.class, right? It's going to be the ear in our last presentation. So it's going to keep listening. If you remember the code for receive here, when it starts up, it's just going to print to the console, waiting for messages. To exit, press Control C. So let's try that. Control C. Indeed, it exited. Let's rerun the consumer. So the consumer is going to wait there for us. On this side of the field, we're going to cd back into desktop, and now we're going to run the send.java. What that's going to do is send a message saying hello world, and then receive is going to show that message. So if you're confused by all this code, we went deeply into them in the second part of this 3-part series. So just like last time, we pasted in the run code. This time, instead of the receive.class being run, we're going to run the send. Alright? So it says send hello world, and we see the second tab here, the receive.classes tab, light up red. That means something changed. So we click on that and it says received hello world. So let's get a better visual of that. We're going to pull the send.class tab out. We're going to put receive on top, the consumer on top, and the producer on the bottom. And we're just going to spam the producer and make it send a bunch of messages. So we're going to press up and enter, and you're going to see the corresponding recipient show the messages that it's getting. And if we don't press anything, nothing shows up. Now we press up, enter, and it shows up in the receiving end. So to review, let's look at this quick 7-step list here. First, we figured out how to install Erlang. Very critical here. But not just Erlang. It might not work for you if you forget that plus SSL. So this is what trips people up. This is the purpose of pretty much this entire video. It is to show you directly how to get there and avoid all these little problems that are undocumented. The next thing, download RabbitMQ server. Next thing, download the client. And then extract these 3 jars here from the client folder and extract them out here so we see clearly that we've done that. Drag them all into desktop, save the 2 source codes, send.java, receive.java, onto the desktop, and we have them right here. CD into RabbitMQ server, all the way into the sbin folder to start up the server, and that's what we did over here. This is when we put in /RabbitMQ -server, this RabbitMQ logo shows up, telling us that everything started up fine. And if you notice, there's a VMware copyright here, so now we know the company behind it is the same as Springs. And after starting the server, or the mom, we compiled the 2 source code files using Java-C and the RabbitMQ client jar. So we combined these 3 files into one Java-C command. And if you don't remember that command, it was Java-C -class path, RabbitMQ client jar, just one jar, and the 2 send and receive. And the next step was run the receive first so that it's listening, and then fire off the send, which was the mouth. You might be wondering what would have happened if we sent a message before setting up a listener. And in that case, the server will hold that message and wait for the receiver to come online and deliver it to the receiver. So that's the flexibility we were talking about. So let's prove that that's true. We're gonna Control-C in the receiver here. So the receiver's exited. It's not listening anymore. So down here when we send a message, it's just gonna send a message. Nothing's gonna show up here. But when we rerun the consumer, it should start up and say received hello world instantly. Alright, so let's exit the consumer again, and this time on the sender side we're gonna send 3 messages all at once. So the mom, or the JMS server, is holding on to all 3 messages, and let's see what happens. We're gonna run the consumer again, and we see that it started up and processed those 3 messages immediately. So like your secretary has 3 appointments and a bunch of letters that people left for you, and when you get to the office, they hand it to you immediately, so you handle it right when you clock in into your office. So I appreciate I understand this is even the type of video I can't sit through unless there's work pressure behind it, or a real need to be able to do this stuff in a real life setting. So anyone who made it this far, I wish you luck in your RabbitMQ or JMS journeys. You might be setting up a Cloud Foundry RabbitMQ service that you wanted to know how to use, or just wanted to get started with JMS with the strong server to start with. And I hope these fulfilled those needs. See ya.